KETV Newswatch 7, chronicling the stories impacting our community. Stories making a difference. Stories that matter to you. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle.
This group of seniors, I think that, I suppose everybody across the country on Senior Day says the same thing, but when you make a transition like this and you're fortunate enough to land with a group of guys like this, we are very, very thankful for that.
The Huskers finish a perfect 7-0 at home, a remarkable turnaround after 7 losses in Mike Riley's first year with the Huskers. Good morning, I'm Matt Lothrop, and this is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle. What a difference a year makes. Just when some Husker fans were starting to doubt the future of the program, the Huskers deliver a season like this year, giving fans hope for future championships. So many great plays and amazing moments, reminding fans of the glory days, players whose names we'll never forget. Every Thursday, we throw it back to some of your favorite Huskers from years past. In this morning's Chronicle, we've put all of the season stories together in one show. We start with former Husker Barry Alvarez. Big Red Nation knows what he's done as athletic director at Wisconsin, but he's quick to point out his Nebraska roots. In fact, Alvarez admits he built his foundation of success using Bob Devaney's blueprint. As one of Nebraska's top tacklers in 1967, linebacker Barry Alvarez flourished under legendary Cornhusker coach Bob Devaney, the man he later emulated in establishing a culture at Wisconsin. Now 11 years retired from roaming the sidelines, the Wisconsin athletic director is more closely connected with Tom Osborne, as the two sat next to each other in deciding the fate of college football.
We grew a closer relationship when I got into coaching and that type thing, but still really never spent much time with him until the playoff. And then we had an opportunity to spend a lot of time together, and I really enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, I will miss him not being there.
Alvarez is in his final year on the rotating selection committee, but hopes his move is one of the only changes to the playoffs format.
I happen to like 4. I think 4 makes sense. The people that talk about more than 4, no one thinks about the players. It's always trying to work a couple more teams in or whatever. Everybody has all these ideas. This isn't basketball.
This fall, Wisconsin extended the contract of Alvarez through 2021, with the 69-year-old showing no signs of slowing down.
If it was up to my wife, I'd retire now, but I enjoy my job. I'm healthy. I like coming to work. I don't feel like I work. I've got good people with me, good coaches, and so as long as my health is good and people are happy here with what I'm doing, then we'll keep doing it.
The Badgers, of course, beat Nebraska this year at Camp Randall Stadium 23-17 in overtime. Well, another Husker who has turned to the coaching ranks, a name most football fans in the Metro know well, David Horn. As a high schooler, he was one of the most talented players not only in Nebraska, but in the country. So what happened to the former Husker? Well, I caught up with him earlier this season as he worked with his new team. Following a freshman All-American season in 2002, David Horn looked destined for stardom.
It's Horn on the field, 45-40, slips a tackle, 35, he's to the 30, 25, 20, he's to the 15, but they say...
Omaha Central's next great running back to play for Nebraska.
All my dreams were coming true for me. Living out my dream, playing in my hometown state, playing in front of Nebraska fans.
Horn's role decreased with a new coach. And by his senior season, the one-time promising Husker had transferred to Northern Iowa.
If I could go back and do things differently, I definitely would. But I enjoyed my time at Northern Iowa. We played a championship game, set some records there while up there, so I think overall it was a good experience at both places.
Horn's last hurrah came with a touchdown in the 1AA National Championship.
Touchdown, Northern Iowa!
He later became a family man, raising 3 kids, but has since found his way back to football. Horn is now in his 2nd year as the running backs coach at Concordia High School, with drills and a mindset reflecting what he learned at Nebraska.
What you do in practice, what happens in the game, it translates to the game. And don't take things for granted, because your opportunities come short and few. So when you get them, you got to take hold of them and run with them.
Horn's current team has done just that. The Mustangs are off to their best start in school history. As for the former Husker, one who never saw himself as a coach, that one-time promising football future might just come on the sidelines. Horns Concordia Mustangs advanced to the playoffs this season, capping one of the best years in program history. Now you're about to meet a former Husker who knows a thing or two about coaching high school football. Mike Foltz played for the Big Red back in the mid-1970s. He went pro, then spent nearly 3 decades coaching at Lincoln High. I talked to him before the Indiana game about his memories with the Hoosiers.
1975 saw Nebraska snap a 10-game losing streak to Indiana. That year, Lee Corso coached the Hoosiers, while Big Hits helped Mike Foltz to Player of the Game honors.
I know they had the hand pads on their hands that I had never seen that the boxers used to use, and that was the first time I ever saw those. You know, I asked that. That's what stood out in the game for me.
Similar stories flood the basement of Foltz's Southwest Lincoln home, from figurines to footballs. But some of the former defensive linemen's best memories cannot be shared in pictures, like the time the team buses didn't show to get the Huskers to the stadium.
And the coach said, get to the game the best way you can. I said, okay, and everybody started going out on the road. People would stop because the game was fixing to start, and they was all driving by. And I stuck my thumb out, and this lady come up, and she picked me up and took me to the game. The thing about it is the lady had just been left at the altar before she got married. She was fixing to get married.
After All-American honors in '76, the New Orleans Saints drafted Foltz. He spent 6 seasons in the NFL with a trio of teams. Following football, he returned to the place that helped mold him into one of the most feared black shirts of his day, spending 27 years as a teacher and coach at his alma mater, Lincoln High.
The wins and losses, you know, that's fun. But when you see a young person that come back that you had a little piece of, maybe they took a little piece of what you gave them and took it out and used it in life. So that's what's important.
The 62-year-old now enjoys retirement, keeping up with both the Lynx and the Huskers, reflecting on the good old days and living out the good life.
Well, plenty of Huskers value their ties to the team. One of the reasons for Nebraska's success in 2016 came from the contributions of a handful of former walk-ons from the class of 2012. The guy in charge of putting that class together is also putting together quite a program in Fremont with another former Husker walk-on.
In just 10 months, Jeff Jamrog turned Midland University into the NAIA's 18th-ranked football team. Their 5-0 record is the program's best start since 2003, and a stark contrast to a team that had lost 18 of their last 19.
We're off to a good start. It's really a credit to a lot of people, first and foremost, all our players that work so hard.
Those players reflect their head coach, a former Nebraska walk-on turned academic All-American. Jamrog is better remembered as a Cornhusker coach in the early 2000s. He returned in 2007 as the director of football operations, revived the walk-on program, and met his future offensive line coach.
I love working with the guys. I love football, putting all your heart into it. When it's done, and you don't know what to do with that knowledge. So coaching is a great way to give back.
Coaching seemed the natural progression for Mike Caputo. Originally a walk-on, the Millard North product became a 2-year starter at Nebraska. Although undersized for a center, Caputo earned all Big Ten honors due to his work ethic, something he passes to his current players, along with techniques picked up from his time as a Husker.
Things that remind me of Coach Cotton, Coach Garrison, like it freaks me out a little bit sometimes. I really try to mimic a lot of what I had that I liked and go different directions with things that I thought were different.
Together, the two have laid a foundation in Fremont based on a formula from Lincoln. Recruit walk-on caliber players with a love for the game, stress discipline every day, and emphasize the small details, all in hopes of turning Midland into a program that resembles their alma mater.
Midland University finished the season at 6-5. Well, we're just getting started here on KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle. Up next, I'll connect with some former Huskers who have gone pro. Chronicle. This morning, we're catching up with some former Huskers to see where they are today, including some who have gone pro. One Husker ready to get back to the NFL is Alfonso Dennard.
Inside a Lincoln gym, Alfonso Dennard continues his journey back to the NFL.
The process has been hard, though. You know what I mean? Like, you got to just control what you control, man. Like, I can't worry about what people think about me because I got to move forward. I still think I'm one of the top corners out there. Somebody just need to give me a chance. That's about it.
Dennard became one of the nation's top cornerbacks during his final 2 seasons at Nebraska, but his stock plummeted after punching a cop 1 week before the NFL draft. His 3-year stint with the New England Patriots overshadowed by his off-the-field legal problems. Now 2 years removed from the NFL, Dennard looks to move forward.
When I got off probation on April 11th, that's when I realized a lot of things, and it got me pointing in a lot of direction, man. I mean, like, I miss my job, though. I miss providing for my family as much as I can and, like, just trying to get back on the football field and be a professional.
The 26-year-old has reinvented himself physically. He now weighs 20 pounds less than he did at Nebraska. He has also changed off the field, spending time this summer at Amir Abdullah's football camps, sharing his life lessons.
And I'd like to tell it how it is. Like, it's hard, but you gotta keep doing it, though. You gotta keep moving forward.
Dennard would one day like to coach youth football and finish his college degree. But before then, he wants one last chance to continue a one-time promising NFL career.
Dennard is still waiting for that chance and is currently a free agent. Well, up next, a Nebraska boy through and through. Chris Kelsey grew up in Nebraska and ended up playing for Nebraska. The Auburn native collected several All-Big 12 honors during his time with the Huskers before spending 10 years in the NFL.
One of Nebraska's last great pass rushers, Chris Kelsey spent his Cornhusker career terrorizing Big 12 quarterbacks.
He's got it up by Kelsey at the 10, thrown out of bounds at the 8. Oh, what relentless pursuit by the Auburn Bulldog, and All-American.
Coming to Nebraska in those days, you would have expected to get at least one national championship. Played in one, didn't get one. Got a Big 12 championship ring. But just being a part of this great program, the tradition there, the fans, you know, the consecutive sellouts and all the All-Americans and the academic All-Americans and just the people.
After Nebraska, Kelsey would play before a similar dedicated fan base in Western New York.
I had two goals when I was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. One was to play for the same team that took a chance on me and drafted me, and to play 10 years.
A 3-year captain for the Buffalo Bills, he retired in 2013 with no regrets after fulfilling that 10-year goal.
Playing defense for the Buffalo Bills for 10 years is really like playing about 20 years because we were on the field a lot. And in fact, the doctor, when I sat down with him, he said after playing 10 years, the kind of ball and the mentality that I played with, he's like, I would expect to see a lot more. He said, you got a clean bill of health, and 4 years out, I still feel as good as I've ever been.
Following football, the one-time Cornhusker captain became a family man. He has 3 kids and still works a job teaming up with his brother Chad at a local freight lining company.
I love being a part of something like that. I love being a part of something bigger than myself.
Kelsey also remains a part of Husker Nation, cherishing friendships with former teammates and his time as a black shirt. Well, on the other side of the ball, do you know who holds the Nebraska record for most career touchdown catches by a tight end? Well, it's not Junior Miller, not Johnny Mitchell, not Mike McNeil. It's this guy, Todd Milliken, who finished his career in Lincoln with 14 TDs. Despite hailing from a small town in southwest Iowa, tight end Todd Milliken knew he could play at Nebraska, thanks to a pep talk from fellow Shenandoah native and former Husker quarterback Van Bronson.
I had a chance to talk to him before I went over there and just kind of asked him a lot of questions, hey, what should I expect? And so he helped me out a lot.
That advice led to all Big 8 honors in 1988, a career highlighted with touchdowns, including one against a Deion Sanders-led Florida State defense.
Touchdown, Todd Milliken.
All part of Memorial Stadium's first ever night game.
We wanted to make a goal to come out the first quarter and get after it right away.
Milliken shared in late game heroics as well, like South Carolina in '86.
Oh, that would probably be in the top 5. I mean, catching the touchdown at the end of the game with like a minute left.
After Nebraska, Milliken was briefly a Chicago Bear and then spent a season with the Barcelona Dragons in the World Football League. He returned home to Shenandoah and raised 4 kids. With a desire to help people, Milliken has spent the last 20 years as an adult probation and parole officer.
It's good to see people come in that need help, and then they become productive again.
Nearly 3 decades removed from his time as a Husker, Milliken still reminisces about the glory days, especially in the fall, but calls his work changing lives more rewarding than any touchdown he ever scored. This next Husker never played in the NFL, but was a part of 2 Husker championship games. And this season, Cluster Johnson's son CJ had a chance to play against his father's alma mater. The redshirt freshman plays for Wyoming. I caught up with Cluster before the Week 2 meeting. The '95 Arizona State game solidified Clester Johnson as a starter, thanks to his 4-catch, 129-yard performance. But the former Nebraska receiver is better remembered for a grab against Colorado.
Tommy threw it up. He threw it a little bit short, but me and the safety went up for it, and I got it and stayed on my feet and ran into the end zone. I would say a lot of people remember me from that.
Johnson led the '95 Huskers in receiving, en route to a second straight national championship. Now 20 years later, Johnson has a new pigskin pinnacle, watching his sons find success at his alma mater, Bellevue West.
I probably enjoyed their high school experience way more than anything that I did. Like winning national championships, don't get me wrong, winning national championship is great, but to watch your sons have success on the football field is just, it's incredible.
Johnson's oldest son, CJ, will again have the opportunity to play at his father's alma mater, but as a redshirt freshman for the Wyoming Cowboys.
You know, he didn't go there, but he's gonna get a chance to play there. To be able to come back for that one time and show some of the fans that, man, we knew he could do that. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that there.
The one-time Husker still cherishes his time in Lincoln, but will cheer for the next Clester Johnson, even in a different uniform.
Time for us to take a short break, but when we come back, we go back decades and showcase some players you might have forgotten about. First, a reminder that your comments are an important part of this show. If you want to be heard, email your comments to news@ketv.com. We love hearing from you. We'll be right back. To Watch 7's Chronicle. This morning, former Huskers have been sharing some of their memories from playing for the Big Red. During their last home game, the Huskers honored 29 seniors. More than a dozen were former walk-ons. It's a tradition that began in the 1960s. It really took hold in the 70s, and its success of stories include a standout from Schuyler named Jeff Krejci.
Today, Nebraska and Oklahoma in truly the big game.
Playing Oklahoma at Norman was probably one of the highlights of my career. And we saw the crowd leave in the fourth quarter in Norman, and that hasn't happened a whole lot. Coach Osborne gave every senior a game ball, which was special to us.
One-time Nebraska safety Jeff Krejci still recalls that moment against Oklahoma in '81. A win by willpower reflective of his Cornhusker career.
It's overcoming. It's walking on with 40 other defensive backs, and it's earning the scholarship. You know, just being able to persevere and to hang in there 4 years. I lettered 3, started my senior year.
Krejci capped that senior season with honorable mention All-American honors from the Associated Press. After football, he followed his father into banking. He now serves as the president of Cornerstone Bank, the 6th largest bank in the state of Nebraska.
Very quickly, I learned that I enjoyed helping people be successful, and both commercial loans, ag loans, those types of things. It kind of keeps the economy going. It's a small town. That's the way you get jobs started and those types of things.
35 years removed from playing, Krejci still gets recognized. He says not much has changed, from his look to his blue-collar work ethic, one that helped him find success as both a banker and a black shirt.
Well, when Tom Osborne took over the head coaching job for Nebraska 43 years ago, he already had a go-to running back. The Tecumseh Tornado, Tony Davis, ended up breaking Nebraska's record for career rushing yards for Coach Osborne. Earlier this season, I caught up with Davis and a few of his pals on the golf course.
A trio of Husker legends reunited on the golf course. Sharing stories and stogies was Jerry Murtaugh, Rich Baugh, and a Husker halfback affectionately known as Tough Tony.
A tackle-busting Tony Davis specialty from 20 yards out.
My time there was actually a dream come true for me, being a Nebraska kid. I always wanted to play at Nebraska. I'm a lot better player now than I was when